Hello and welcome back to WD18, the Watford fan channel. Welcome back to another video. We're pretty much halfway through January and we haven't seen any movement at all in or out of Watford. So we thought today we'd sit down and, as well as react to last night's difficult draw away at Cardiff. I'm knackered. I went to the game last night. You can probably hear it in my voice. We thought we'd rank all the rumours so far relating to Watford's transfer windows, both incomings and outgoings as well. To join me doing that, first of all, I've got Charlie Zazzera. Mr. Zazzera, how are you, mate?
I'm good. Yeah, a bit of a different video compared to the last one we've done. Obviously, Adam is as big a high profile as our previous ranking video, I guess. But no, all good. Hopefully we can move past last night and talk about some potential exciting transfers or lack of, or Derby, which I think we're all going to.
Yeah, it should be a good day out, that one, Derby. And like Charlie just referenced there, if you haven't checked out our ranking Watford teammates fashion video yet with Ryan Andrews and Miles Roberts, make sure to check it out on the channel. And I'm also joined today by Mr. Adam Drury from the Rookery. And Adam, how you doing, mate?
Good, thank you, guys. Enjoyed both Watford players stitching you up on that video. Very good watch, good work.
No, thank you, mate. Really appreciate that. Yeah, towards the end of the video, we did get Miles and Ryan to rank Jacob, Charlie, and my fashion as well, which was an interesting one, to be fair. But yeah, definitely enjoyable, and make sure to check it out. Before we get into it, as Jacob would say, a few bits of housekeeping. First of all, mental health World Cup update. Charlie, anything to update on?
Do you know what? I should have had an update, and Giancarlo, who is leading it, has sent me a WhatsApp, but I'm just that unorganized. I haven't even opened it yet. But no, I think there is like there might be one or two spots available. So if you are really interested in a team, like, contact us. We will do our best to get you involved. We're also looking for potential sponsors. So that includes kind of getting tickets for the events, changing room experience, different kind of advertisement if you want to advertise your company. So there's loads of stuff still up for grabs, and soon we're going to be looking into auction prizes and stuff like that, and fun activities that you can get involved in the day. So the response so far has been incredible, and we've got loads of teams. We've had to expand it it's gone from a 16 team to a 32 team tournament, which is amazing. So yeah, we're just filling up those final spots, and hopefully there'll be an announcement in the coming weeks about what teams are involved, and then auction prizes and all that good stuff. So thank you to everyone who has reached out so far.
Yeah, buzzing for it. It's going to be an amazing day, and so many teams signed up already, and really looking forward to raising a lot of money for 5 really important charities in the Watford community.
Adam, have you had Sam? Adam, have you had the call up from the Rookery end?
Not yet. I was going to say I'm gonna nudge John after this and see what's happening.
Got a bit of friction in.
You've probably stitched him up there.
WhatsApp group. Oh God. Look, let's get straight into it, because I'm sure none of us really want to talk about that Cardiff game last night, but you know, we're here, we're gonna have to do a bit of therapy, like we've said before on the channel. Adam, your immediate reaction to the game last night? Obviously it wasn't great performance wise, but Watford did get away with a point.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a terrible game, wasn't it? Like, the first half particularly was so lacking in quality from both teams, I thought, not just from a Watford perspective. But yeah, I mean, I tweeted, like, I felt like somewhat by design, Watford turned into a really ugly dog of a game, really. It felt like every time that a defender got a chance to put their foot through it, they did. Everything was long. There were lots of balls down the channels, lots of hopeful long passes. And yeah, I mean, I think back to the way that Tom cleverly described the way he wanted to play in the summer and the way he was this season. I don't think we saw any of that really last night, which, to be fair, he did. He did accept himself after the game. So yeah, hoping we don't see too many more like that as he takes this Watford team forward, we hope. But there is definitely something in this team which we haven't seen in different Watford teams over the years, where they get something going late on in games. They don't disappear in games. They don't come to lenders through, and they found something, sort of in their performance in a few minutes to come, but I thought it was a difficult watch from our game, and I don't think that's how this team should.
Yeah, no, definitely. Charlie, obviously, I mean, as Adam mentioned there, in terms of Watford teams are sort of quite good this season. We've seen a few late goals, Millwall away, Hull away, I can think of, as well as obviously Portsmouth at home recently. This Watford team are able to get late goals, but we'll touch on that second half and the slight improvement we saw after we went 1-0 down. But that first half was really, really poor. I could see it from the away end how bad it was. Talk to me about what you think went wrong in that first half for Watford.
Everything. It just looked like the worst Sunday League game I've ever seen. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about like midweek away games that I just feel I had no hope going into it. And this is against a Cardiff team who are poor. The fact that we've only got 1 point from them this season, the fact that they ended our unbeaten run is an absolute travesty. And yeah, first half was so bad. It was, I don't know if you know this phrase, and maybe the younger viewers might not know, but it was a bit, and I might get this phrase wrong, so Adam can help me, but what's it called? Keystones Pops, is that right, Adam?
Yeah, I'm actually never quite sure what that means. Someone's going to have to comment. But, yeah, Keystone Pops is the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, proper Mickey Mouse. There was a passage of play where like the ball was bouncing over Musa Sissoko. He looked like a seal, and Porteous and Sierralta were kicking each other and both missed it. Like it was pretty bad. I mean, my thing that was not concerning, but my thing that was, Adam's had enough of the performances.
Don't blame him.
My thing that was kind of worrying was just the. I felt like we wanted to stop the rot. I didn't think the fact that we went defensive was a bit concerning for me. I know Clev said about he wanted to keep a clean sheet, but I just think it was just another opportunity where if we played our game, if we tried to find Barr and Georgie against their players, we'd be creating a lot more chances. So I thought maybe the players were too worried about being too defensive and didn't play their own game. But yeah, like, what was it? Maybe not the second half, but like, what was it like from the stands? What was the atmosphere? What was the reaction from the away end?
Well, but I mean, first off, I must say, before we bring Adam back in here, the first thing I must say is that it was poor. We could tell it was poor. And while the support was right there for Tom Cleverley, and we'll talk about that in a moment, everything that's been going on over the last few days, we could see how bad it actually was. And I don't actually think, to be honest with you, until speaking to people after watching the highlights back, could really tell how bad, it actually was from the ground. I think there's an argument that was the worst first hour of the season. And I think Watford were fortunate to only be 1-0 down. Cardiff missed some huge opportunities. Matty Pollock was blocking so many things, to his credit. Jonathan Bond made a really, really good save in the first half. But do you know what? Again, we'll talk about Tom Cleverley in a moment, but I've seen that performance a lot when it's almost the last few games of a manager at Watford. I think back to Valérien Ismaël's last game last season, which I think was Coventry or Huddersfield at home, and it really, really reminded me of that as well. So I just hope this isn't almost foreshadowing something that we could see happen in the last few weeks. But in terms of like keeping the handbrake on, it was a very Valérien Ismaël-esque sort of performance, I thought. Let's bring Adam back in here. Adam, can you hear me all right, mate?
Got you. Sorry, Wi-Fi getting in.
No worries. We obviously went 1-0 down in that second half, and we were holding on for the few minutes before that. But I mean, talk to me about that goal. Just as a disorganisation defensively as well, it was so worrying to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest concerns. I said before that we went into the game. Cleverley had talked about he wants a clean sheet. That's the main priority from the match. And clearly it was a very no-risk performance in terms of what I said. Everything went long, didn't try and play out too much. It looked like it was a real low percentage tactical performance. but then it still didn't feel like we defended well or defended calmly or held them at bay easily. Like they were knocking on the door in the first half. And I think it felt like they realised as the game went on, there's nothing really to fear from taking us on. And certainly at the start of the second half, maybe that was the message at half time. They came out the traps and really went for us and could have scored before they did. And it feels to me like just putting an extra defender in and playing a back five rather than a back four doesn't make us look any more secure. Well, maybe it makes us look slightly more secure just because of the number of bodies, but not in terms of organisation or how we're actually defending as a unit. It was chaotic at times, even in the first half. I think you just mentioned there the time when Porteous and Sierralta went for the same ball and then both left it and it rolled through the middle of them. Like things like that are happening, whether we play a back four or a back five. So yeah, I think Cardiff took encouragement and really went for us at the start of the second half and deservedly led. And they'll probably feel like they probably should have just cracked on, because when they sat back on their lead, suddenly we came into the game. But it wasn't a good defensive performance, even if it was back to basics in terms of no risks and trying to fix the issues that we've had over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, something that you. Oh, sorry, go on, Charlie.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to go back to Adam on something. I actually disagree. I feel like we're a bit more sturdier and a bit more compact when we have got the three. I don't think we're good enough, or we got the players that play the four. And yesterday showed when we took off Porteous to bring on Vata, which is an attacking situation. 5 minutes later, like scrappy ball just kind of bobbles between, and Sierralta and Pollock just look completely different players for me in a three compared to a four. I don't think we've got the players to play with a four, which is pretty damning, really. Do you agree, Adam, or do you think it was just that performance? I just think Tom obviously wants to play with a four and he wants to get as many attackers on, and that was part of the game plan yesterday, as in keep it tight and then let's try and push on. But that's when we conceded. And I just think when I see Pollock and Sierralta especially dragged wide, it just looks like our defence is wide open when we change shape.
Yeah, I guess I feel like the benefits of playing the back four and getting Vata and Bar in the team maybe outweigh how good defensively we look in the back five. You're right. Like even the goal we conceded last night, maybe just having the extra body there would have meant that the ricochet falls differently or whatever. I don't feel like we defend calmly in a back three at all. I think the same players are making mistakes. Sierralta just seems to get turned too easily and doesn't look. I wonder if injuries have caught up with him a little bit in terms of like his physicality, because he just doesn't look like a nightmare to play against the way he used to. Thought Porteous looked nervous again last night, maybe a little bit more how he was playing at the start of the season. So yeah, you're right. I'm sure we give up fewer chances and concede fewer goals in the back three, but the trade-off is that it looked like we were never going to create a chance if we played all week in that back three last night. And then as soon as Vata comes on, things change quite considerably moving forward. I think there's a few other knock-ons of playing 4-3-3 that work as well, like Loser playing as the 6 in front of a back four and dictating the game from there. I think makes us look a much better team with the 2 wide players in front of him, and Shaq Fatadzi playing a little bit deeper and getting on the ball and moving us forward from the deeper position. When in the 3-4-3, he can sometimes drift in and out of the game and get a little bit lost playing further forward. So I think there are quite a few benefits to 4-3-3. I think it's a lot more fun to watch, gets us off our seats, we create chances. And I get the impression from what Tom said after the game yesterday, that's what he'd like to do. There's just a few issues, as you say, like the centre-backs being dragged wide, the full-backs who probably, other than Ngakia, we've signed to play wing-back or have been coached into a wing-back system rather than a back four. So there's issues either way. But I think I look forward to watching us play a lot more in the 4-3-3, or at least trying to get those 3 on the pitch, like how we did against Sheffield United when we played a back 3 and then left out Bio and played like Vata and Bar as the front 2. So I can't agree with Vata being benched half the time and spending half the time not on the pitch anymore. I want to see him play as much as possible, because I think he's one of a few players who are in really good form and exciting to watch.
Yeah, it's a question, I suppose, of having that balance. You touched on Ryan Porteous before. If you're just coming in now, we are going to talk about transfer rumours later on in the video, ranking Watford's January transfer rumours. Ryan Porteous is a player who has been linked away this window. I think Hull seems to be the most interested. To be honest with you, with Porteous, I thought he looked like a player whose head was potentially elsewhere yesterday, and he didn't necessarily look 100% focused on the game. But in terms of other... on this channel, we don't really tend to single out individual performances. But Charlie, were there any players yesterday who you thought really struggled in the system on the whole?
I was concerned with our midfield pairing.
Yeah,
two players who I think one of the great commentators that were on yesterday mentioned Sissoko's, how many caps has he got for France? God knows. I think he. Am I right in saying like 70 or something? I might be wrong there. I remember. Wow. And loser, I'm still like, I feel like at home against a lesser side, he can dictate stuff in spells. I don't think he's had a complete performance yet, but I thought those two, like the fact they couldn't get their foot on the ball was worrying. Like if you look at loser isn't as old, but there'll be two of our highest earners. And I think Cardiff's midfield, I know Alex Robertson, who's played for Man City, they just had a bit more energy. They didn't have much more quality, but they just had more energy to fluster our midfield, and we just couldn't put our foot on it, which is it's concerning, really, when you look at our midfield. Tom Daly was on the bench yesterday, I think, which I think is a really, really positive sign. If we can get him back, I think that'd be huge, but he's got those injury issues as well, so we can't pin all our hopes for him to be the difference. I think we said in our 5 players Watford should sign that a centre midfielder was crucial. And yeah, I don't want to dig him out. I just think Sissoko, I can't believe his. And like, I was like, were my eyes deceiving me at the start of the season? But I just think he's really, really regressed. At the start of the season, he did have some physicality and showed some power, but at the moment, he just looks completely lost, which is worrying, really. But there is a player in there, and I know a few people kind of highlighted it before, and I have to admit I was a bit late to the party, but if he can try and get some of that early season form back, because he looks a shadow of it at the moment. And then, yeah, other players, I thought Bio didn't have a great game. I know he got his goal, but yeah, it's just tough with Bio, isn't it? 10 goals. It feels like the narrative about him is similar to I don't know. We said a Hertfordshire Haaland that we used to talk about, but fair play to him. And look, I think one thing, there was a chance in the first half where just his harrying kind of he nicked the ball off someone in their box, and it's better than nothing. So yeah, we're going to talk about transfers at the moment, but like if you look at our team, like how many do you think are we happy with? It's not a lot. I did think Jonathan Bond did well yesterday.
Yeah.
I think there's only one moment that he could have done better from the corner where he committed and he didn't get anywhere near it. But Pollock with the apps, I tweeted it. I just thought it was an unbelievable clearance, which might not get the credit it deserved, but it was like do you remember that Chicharito goal for Man United? That kind of backwards header, but that defensive instinct I thought was amazing. He has been my player of the season so far. And I thought he was good yesterday, a couple of really important clearances. So yeah, I think Bondi and Pollock deserve some credit from yesterday.
Yeah, 100%. On that Chicharito header, actually, I was actually watching Premier League years the other day from that exact season. So, yeah, I know exactly which game you're talking about with that. Yeah, the midfield definitely struggled yesterday. As KO Drummers says here, Tondeli Bashiru is coming back. He was on the bench yesterday. I mean, it's interesting, Charlie, because after about 3 or 4 games this season, we did a video, 5 things that we've learned from Watford's start to the season so far. And one of the things that we brought forward, I think it's something I said, was how important the midfield is to this Watford team, because after 3 or 4 games, I thought Moussa Sissoko was absolutely great and looked like he was a cut above everyone in this division, was bossing games. Not bossing games necessarily, but I thought he looked really, really good. Obviously, Tondeli's been out injured, but Adam, to try and regain control in midfield in games, and potentially a player I think has suffered with the lack of control we've had recently is Shatfa Tatsi. We haven't seen him at his best recently. Do you think Tondeli comes straight back into the team to almost try and free up other players?
Maybe. I was going to ask you guys whether you think Tondeli and Loser will be partnered together, because I feel like Loser came into the side as Tom Delly's replacement more a couple of months ago, and a little bit maybe in terms of profile more similar in terms of taking the ball off the defenders and trying to get us playing. Wouldn't say either have like incredible legs or physicality to get around the pitch, so it'll be interesting but then I don't think the other options do either. I think Sissoko ticks those boxes in theory, but we're not seeing it often enough. So whether those two will be partnered together potentially, I'm a bit of a loss to kind of come up with a solution in midfield at the moment, because it feels like every solution has quite a few different drawbacks, other than hopefully sign a midfielder who fits the bill this month. I think Loser is kind of first name on the team sheet in that area, but just feels like whenever it's like Sissoko and Kayembe are kind of rotating next to him and proving why he shouldn't be in the team week on week, and the other one comes in and then the other one looks better again. They're both really out of form, not playing well. And just in terms of style, like when you watch Loser, like he's got low centre of gravity, gets around the pitch, snaps into tackles, and then the other two it's like it's being played at 60-70% all the time. Like, when do you ever see them like break out in a sprint or like get across to get a block in or get a challenge in? It just feels like there's huge gaps in midfield all the time.
Yeah, I must say, actually, on that yesterday, there was right in front of the away end, the first time I've ever seen this season, pretty much, Sissoko did sprint out and won a slide tackle, I think it was. Sorry, I had that in, but I think that's the first time I've seen that all season. And then after that, he didn't move again for the rest of the game.
Did you see that 50-50?
Which one was that?
Yeah, that was a bit ugly, wasn't it?
What happened with that one? I think I must have missed that one from the away end.
It's not even a 50-50. There was like a 70-30 to Sissoko. He was closest to the ball, and just a weak tackle, and the defender went in harder and took it off him. It's just like
Bond ended up making a good save from the move from the when they won the ball back in the midfield. It was the one he tipped wide with his left hand.
Yeah, no, right in the first half. Listen, let's move on from that, because that was a terrible game of football, a terrible performance, and we hope to see better at Derby. Theo, you asked for your score predictions. Make sure to stick around for the end, where we'll be previewing Derby and giving our predictions for the game. But Adam, you mentioned there potential reinforcements in midfield, which are needed. So let's get into our tier list rankings for rumours so far in the January transfer window, both incomings and outgoings. Can you both see that okay? Our tier list here?
Yeah, if you can zoom in a couple of notches, that'd be good, mate.
There we go.
More. Lovely stuff.
Good stuff. Cool. So we've got here lined up at the bottom. I think there's about 10 players there, players who are either linked to coming into Watford and a few players who are linked with moving away from Watford. And we're going to rank them according to how almost the impact that this could have on the Watford squad in terms of it being an absolute game changer or an absolute disaster for Watford. I think I know where the first player will both go for you two, but I'll throw this one over to you, Charlie, first of all. Georgie Shatfatadze. If he left Watford in the transfer window, he was linked last month, I think, with a move to Wolverhampton Wanderers in the Premier League. Those rumours have gone quiet, but nevertheless, it is a rumour, and we're here to rank all of them. If we did lose Georgie, how detrimental would that be to this Watford side?
Disaster. He is our best player by a mile. I think sometimes he struggles to like hit that level all the time, and I think sometimes Barr's the one who can be a bit more influential and go and grab a moment like we saw yesterday. But talent-wise, he is our best player. So I think he'd be a huge miss creatively, getting us up the pitch. So we don't need to talk about that one anymore. Get that in disaster.
Yeah, I mean, luckily those rumours have quietened down as well. So yeah, hopefully that is the last that we hear of that. Next one is, particularly after Daniel Bachmann's injury, it is going to be, I think, quite important that we fill that goalkeeper spot. And apologies if I butcher his name, but Besiktas goalkeeper Ersin Destangoglu, I think is how you pronounce it.
Smashed it.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Adam, first of all, do you think Watford need to sign a goalkeeper in this window? And secondly, do you have any insight at all on the backup goalkeeper at Besiktas?
Not quite in my wheelhouse. To be fair, the bits and pieces I've seen since this rumour came out aren't particularly complimentary. But yeah, I mean, I feel a bit bad sort of getting too swayed by them. Never seen him play, don't know too much about him. I think goalkeeper is interesting. I to be fair, whenever Bond has played this season, I think he's done really well. He did well earlier in the season. I thought he did well again last night. He seems like a calming influence, decent with his feet, maybe a little bit better than Bachmann with his feet. And so it wouldn't surprise me if we try and just get through the next few weeks. Bachmann will obviously be back in a couple of months. I think it's definitely, I've kind of felt more and more as the season's gone on, it's a position that needs dealing with long term at some stage quite soon, probably in the summer, where we bring in, maybe Bachmann moves on and we bring in a new number one. But I don't know if that's something we're going to be able to do this month. I know another goalkeeper we've got coming up later on, Mark Travers from Bournemouth, is really, really good. I think he played for them last night and had a good game at Chelsea. So how realistic that is, I don't know. But yeah, I'm on the fence at the moment with bringing in a new goalkeeper. But from the little I know, perhaps we should say that a different one to, I'm not even going to try his name, the Besiktas number 2 is hopefully what we're going to go for this month.
Yeah, where would you?
Meh.
Yeah, so apologies about this, by the way. I think meh and don't hate it are meant to be the other way around. Actually, I'll see in a second if I can change that. But moving on to our next player here, we've got a player who we were linked with yesterday, an Irish centre-half from Udinese. He was at Charlton last season, I think, as well. James Abankwah, I think is how you pronounce his name. Charlie, you had a few messages about this player. What insight can you give us?
Yeah, this is just football in a nutshell. It made me laugh. So whenever you get linked to a player, you ask a fan that you know who might have a bit more insight than you. So saw he was on loan at Charlton. Asked my mate, who's a Charlton season ticket holder. Yeah. And I said, talk to me. He said, absolute dog. Looks like a lost child in every minute he played. That's from the Charlton fan. And then I asked Connor, who we spoke to for the Rocco Vata video. I think it was Rocco Vata, not Festia Baselli, but he's basically like an Irish football content creator, YouTuber, knows his stuff. And he messaged me straight away saying, wow, this lad, he's really, really good. I can't remember his exact phrasing, but he was like, he's one for the future, but like he's been outstanding for the under-21. So that just shows football fandom. And I don't think you can judge players by one loan spell. Like, environment is key. I think we've seen that with Watford quite often. We're seeing it with like Ismaila Sarr at the moment, who's looking pretty good at Crystal Palace. So environment is important. And then, yeah, when we tweeted the both kind of those different opinions, the message I kind of had from it was, God, let's give him a chance. Like, we might be getting in a young lad who's shows some really good application. Like, if we look at Matty Pollock now, he's probably one of our most best consistent performers we have. And like, look at the adversity he's come from in his previous spell, or his start to his career at Watford. So I don't think he's the answer. I don't think he's going to propel us to promotion. But I would say, don't hate it.
Don't hate it for James Abankwah there. Another goalkeeper now. Apologies, Adam. Seems that you're ending up with all the goalkeepers here. Jesse Yoranen, I think is how you pronounce that one. Any insight on Jesse here, or Charlie? Have you got any insight on him?
You're stitching Adam up here.
I think he's he used to play for Fulham, right? And he counts as a homegrown player, has some experience of English football. That's about as much as I know. So yeah, my goalkeeper from Fulham.
Or something like that, but he definitely he's had. I think he scored for Accrington Stanley, like a big boot punted up in the wind, took it over. Yeah, maybe who knows? Yeah, exactly. Stick bio in net. But do you think the fact that is it a sign that we are linked with goalkeepers? Does that suggest we've spoken to agents and they're putting their clients out, Adam?
Yeah, well, it's either that or agents know that our number one's just got injured and put their name and Watford together in a report or a tweet or whatever. I honestly don't know whether whether we will go for a goalkeeper this month. I mean, we're not going to talk about him today because I think he's just signed for Schalke, but Loris Karius was one I think you mentioned on your video last week who I think would have maybe fit the bill and is the kind of keeper we would have signed like 10 years ago in that Almunia, Gomez, Foster kind of mould. I reckon it's one that the club wanted to sort out in the summer. And I think I do get the sense from the way Cleverley's talking about Bachmann that maybe he's not so enamoured by him as the impression that he likes to give off sometimes. He said after the Sheffield United game that basically had to completely change our tactics because the passing out just wasn't good enough. So I think it's one that they will want to have done in the summer, and this injury has kind of come at a bad time because you either bring it forward or you bring someone in for just a few months. My guess would be that it's probably going to be Bond for the next month or two, and then Bachmann will be back until the summer, and then we'll deal with it then. But I think for this rumour, I'd maybe go one up to Don't Hate It, just because the reports seem to be a little bit more complimentary.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I do think that if Tom Cleverley is here in the summer, and let's hope that he is, I do think that we will see the goalkeeper situation addressed in terms of a longer term replacement. If you listen to how he spoke about Daniel Bachmann at the start of the season, he was really complimentary about him standing by his number one. And I feel like as you've seen the weeks go on this season, that tune has slowly changed to the point where against Sheffield United, obviously Bachmann got injured and wish him a speedy recovery, but we saw Tom Cleverley did mention he had to change his tactics, and I just wonder if that was almost the straw that broke the camel's back. Adam, instead of being harsh with you on the goalkeepers here, I'll give you an outgoing. Ken Sema, a player who we haven't seen too much of this season, has been linked with a move to Sweden, probably to finish off his career. I think it's a move to Malmo he's linked with. What do you make of that one?
Yeah, this is a bit weird, right? Because he's completely disappeared, not been involved for a couple of months, I don't think. And you would have thought that, considering he's disappeared, you'd have thought the move was done and he'd have gone. So we're halfway through the month and it hasn't happened yet, but he's still not involved. It's also strange timing because he's just broken into the Sweden first team for the first time in his career over the last 6 months, just as his Watford career is coming to an end. But yeah, been at Watford for a long time. Obviously, I think we all think of him as probably one of the bright sparks of a disappointing few years, like someone we've never been disappointed to see in the team. 100% effort, some really, really good moments as well, particularly in that year we went up behind closed doors. But probably one of those players who it just feels like his time at Watford is coming to the end. Just one of those cyclical things. He's been with us for a long time. And maybe a move to Sweden suits him personally. I don't know. So yeah, I think this is, assuming we're kind of inverting it, is he solid signing for Malmo, solid sale for Watford?
solid signing, solid sale.
I think it's, I'd be sorry to see him go, but I think it's, it just seems to kind of make sense.
Yeah, but we'll put him in solid signing / solid sale. You'll know what we mean if you're watching this video. I mean, it's an interesting one because I'm Charlie. You'll know from standing with me at games, I'm not Yasser Laroussi's biggest fan, and James Morris can't really do that role in the back five, I don't think. And I do wonder. I know when he played this season towards the start, he didn't look great, Ken. But I do wonder potentially if he had a string of games in him, if he could have been that short-term solution in the left wing-back role. But it does seem that Ken Sema could be on the way out. Charlie, Lewis Kumas, potential loan coming in from Liverpool. What do you know about him, and do you think he'd be a good signing for us?
Well, we all know that Premier League years, his dad, Jason Kumas, I think he played West Brom. We've actually got a long list of former Premier League legends that we've taken on their sons, haven't we? I don't know too much about him. I know he had or is having a good loan spell at Stoke. I think he scored a few goals. I think their fans really like him. So I'm not sure what's happened there. I think when we were linked with him, it was us and other probably better teams than us, like Sheffield United. I might be wrong. Get in the comments if I've got that wrong. But our name was linked with him. He doesn't seem like the centre midfielder we need. He seems like more of an attacking player as one of the 10s, which I don't think we need, especially with Rocco Vata stepping up. So I'd probably say I don't hate it, but I don't think it's what we need. the one player that I think, and I watched the Liverpool game when they played Accrington Stanley, and I tweeted about him last year. Jayden Danns, the next Harry Kane. I think I think he looks really, really exciting. Exactly what we need. Although I probably said the same thing about Daniel Jefferson, but that tall striker who's willing to run channels, press well, really good finisher. He'd be someone that I'd like to see us bring in, and I think he could do a better job for us. So, not too sure about Kumes. I'll probably put him in don't hate it, but if we are in contact with Liverpool, let's get their other Scouse lad, Jayden Danns.
Yeah, and obviously Mo Salah linked with a move away in the summer, so if he fancies Vicarage Road, then obviously he'd be a decent signing as well. Adam, Adam, a player who I know you wanted to speak about next is Hector Kyprianou, a player who the murmurings have almost rumbled on now for about 18 months, 2 years, I think. Hector Kyprianou to Watford. We had a bid rejected in the summer, and I think last January. I mean, he could be the answer to our midfield problems, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it just feels like his profile and where he's coming from, coming up to us, just seems to tick a lot of boxes. Obviously, he's a player we definitely want. I think we know we've kind of tried to lowball Peterborough on deadline day on the last two deadline days, but seems to me now with midfield to me is the number one priority this month. And considering he's a player that we've been after before, and I think I'm not going to pretend to have watched hours of footage, but from what I'm aware, does the kind of things that we need in midfield. He's decent technically, can take the ball, but more than that, can cover ground, energetic, tackles, interceptions, can fill some of those gaps that we're seeing open up way too often in midfield in all of our games at the moment. And I think we haven't necessarily recruited from lower down the pyramid that well over the last few years. There's been one or two, to be fair. Pollock and Barr have really emerged as star players this season. And I think, there's lots of chat about championship ready players, oven ready players, all of this. Actually, those players are the ones that, in terms of salary and transfer fee, might cost. Whereas bringing someone in from Peterborough, who presumably salary demands aren't quite as high, he's out of contract this summer, so the transfer fee shouldn't be huge. It just feels like it ticks lots of our boxes. And I think he could be the kind of player, he's fit as well. He's fit. He's been playing. He could sign today and start on Saturday in terms of fitness levels. I think it feels right to me, this one. And I don't know whether we want to go game changer for a midfield signing from Peterborough, but the midfield is the big signing we need this month. And I think he does.
If you think it, put him in game changer. I don't.
Let's go game changer.
Let's do it. I think,
but you know my theory. Yeah.
I think this would be a game changer.
Do you know my theory on this one though? Considering, like Adam mentioned, we have tried to lowball Peterborough last two windows. I just think Gino's looking at him and going, "I can get him for free. Why am I going to pay a fee now?" And we know Peterborough's owner. Is it Darren McAntony, I think? He's a really good character, but he's this kind of guy who's just going to say, this is the price, either pay it or don't. And Gino's going, I could probably get him for free in the summer, which by that time, any other team could swoop in. So that's just a theory. That I've got no intel or anything on that, but and maybe that is complete and utter rubbish, but that's just something that I imagine that could be a scenario.
The other midfielder I've seen, I think people have mentioned rather than rumours, is Lewis O'Brien from Forest, who spent time at Middlesbrough, didn't he, on loan a couple of years ago, been in the MLS, and I think he's just not been playing at Forest. So again, there might be a fitness issue there, but he could be interesting. Harrison Reed I liked, who I think you mentioned before as well, but I'd have thought maybe he would be snapped up by someone at the top of the league if he's available.
He was. Yeah, did he play? He played against us, didn't he, in the Fulham game?
I think he came on. Yeah.
I was surprised because I thought his injury had just been coming back. So if we could get a loan deal. So speaking of Nottingham Forest players, and Sam, I don't know if he's made the tier list.
But he hasn't made the tier list, no.
Do we make it the trilogy, Sam? Dennis, I.
If you don't know what Charlie's talking about, a report did come out earlier this week that I think 3 or 4 championship clubs and a couple of clubs from abroad are interested in Emmanuel Dennis, who obviously hasn't played a minute this season for Nottingham Forest, I don't think, who are flying in the Premier League. I said that I'd be shocked if we weren't one of those 4 clubs in for him. We know the history. He loves Watford. We saw the videos last season. He was desperate to re-sign for us, it seems. Personally, I like Emmanuel Dennis, and I think he was a fantastic player for us. But yeah, I'm not sure if he'd be the immediate answer to our questions, particularly with concerns over his fitness. Adam, would you bring him back for round 3?
It'd be great content, wouldn't it? It'd be great to see. I don't know if I don't think I would. I think obviously when he's fit and available and at it, he'd probably start as our number 9. He scored in Cleverley's first 2 games in charge against Birmingham and Leeds at the end of last season. Against Leeds, he was absolutely electric, and that was what we'd want all the time. Yeah. But then even in those last few games after that, it petered out again. I just think I think of games last night where we're kind of talking about how we never really got into it, never got into a rhythm. Is he someone who would improve that and get us going, or is he someone who would just fall into the, go the same way as the others who were out there last night? I think we've seen too many examples where he didn't make the difference last season, particularly with fitness problems. I'd kind of love to see it, but sensible football head on, probably not what we need right now.
Yeah.
What would the content be? I'm trying to think of content ideas for announcing.
They can't do it again, can they? They did it last time.
Round 3.
Nice.
Well, let us know in the comments if you take Emmanuel Dennis back at Watford this season. Nothing concrete in that yet, as we say, but just some rumours that Championship clubs are in for him. Let's actually jump to a fellow Nigerian striker actually next then, Kelechi Iheanacho, who I think, is he still at Leicester, but he's not playing there at the moment, or is he left Leicester?
I think he left. If I'm right, I think he has left Leicester on a permanent, and he went to Seville as a free transfer in the summer, and he's just been out of favour, and it hasn't worked for him at all over in Seville. I've had some really mixed views on this. I think when I remember prime Iheanacho, especially when he was coming through at City in the early years at Leicester, he was a really decent Premier League player, especially his finishing, really good in the box, sniffing out chances. But when I spoke to my mate who's a Leicester fan, he was so inconsistent, can throw games in where he does nothing, similar to a couple of strikers that we've had really recently. But he wasn't sure about him, and I was surprised, because I thought a player of his level going to Sevilla would be someone that we would be interested in. There's been 2 reports about us being interested in Iheanacho, but one must beware hubris. I'd be a bit worried about if we signed him, placing him in the Championship team that isn't that great. I can't see him as the dynamic player who's going to go after game and have that energy that we'd need. I would be a bit hesitant. I would put it in, we probably don't have a category. I'd put it in one must beware hubris, but maybe don't hate it. But I'd be concerned. I'd much rather a younger player with the right attitude who wants to make a name for himself. Adam, where would you put him on the tier list?
Yeah, this alarm bells were ringing when I saw this rumour, to be honest. It just doesn't quite feel... It feels like one of those eye-catching January rumours that are quite attractive on the face of it, but then when you think about the reality of how it would look, I think the fitness issue is the main thing again. Not been playing. There's been... I think he's not actually available for Sevilla at the moment because of fitness, injury problems. Just doesn't feel like someone, like I said with Kyprianou, he could sign today and start on Saturday. I don't think that's going to be the case here. I think it would take a few weeks. Just doesn't quite feel right to me. But obviously, I think you're right. When he first broke through, I remember there was chat about whether him at City or Rashford at United was the better young player coming through at those teams. Loads of potential, looked like a quality striker and had a few decent years at City and Leicester. But yeah, it doesn't strike me as the right move for us. No.
Although the last time, didn't we sign another Nigerian striker in January? Or was that in the summer? I don't know. But I'm just reminiscing about Odion Igalo.
No, what a man. Yeah, I think that was a summer move, I think, wasn't it? Just before the promotion season in 14-15. Yeah, I think don't hate it for collectively Iheanacho is fair because I think if he came in, it would either be an absolute disaster or it would be an absolute game changer. So I think somewhere in between for now is definitely fair. 3 more players, 2 exits and 1 potential incoming. One that's sort of rumbled on over the last couple of weeks, and we got a more concrete report from the Hull Daily Mail. Spoke about it earlier, but Ryan Porteous potentially leaving Watford this window. Adam, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? It's the kind of move that you wouldn't expect to see happen in a January because it doesn't feel. I'm not quite sure why Hull want him, why we'd want to sell him, why he'd want to go there. It's one of those where you can't quite put it all together why it's actually happening. That kind of squad churn you'd usually save for the summer rather than this month when it's like, what do we desperately need to do? So yeah, it probably comes down to the transfer fee, right? I think if it was if we could get a 7-figure fee, then I would say that's a good sale. And maybe the centre back we've been linked with from Udinese is connected to this move. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think if we were to make a profit on him and everyone was happy, then I'd probably say yes. And if maybe there was a decent replacement out there, we could get in. But I don't see it as a move we need to make now, or there's no reason for us to leave ourselves in trouble or short of numbers just to move him on to Hull. I think that's something that if he wants to do and we want to do, it could wait. So I think the transfer fee needs to be probably in £1 million plus kind of territory. So maybe I don't hate it, depending on what the fee is.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on the replacement as well. Charlie, do you agree with that? Don't hate it?
Yeah, Porto. What did I say in the group the other day? Like, the idea of Ryan Porteous seems a lot better than the actual reality. Like, I really wanted him to do well, and he did get back into form, I'd say maybe November, start of December time, where he seemed a lot more calm, but he kind of feels like he slipped in to his rash, unreliable self, if I'm honest. And I really wanted it to work out. This report has probably been the strongest link out of anyone that we've spoken about today, which is quite surprising. I would have thought if he would have gone, he would have made a move back to Celtic or Rangers. But yeah, I think if this is an opportunity for Gino and to get his money back, or even a tiny bit of profit, they'll happily sell and bring someone in for a cheaper fee. And I think that's probably smart business because I don't think his performances has warranted us wanting him. But again, it would leave us in a lot worse position if we got rid of him, because look, he has been a starter for us and he has played well for us, and like, I think he's the right kind of character. I just think for one reason or the other, we've talked at length about the difficult summer he's had, but yeah, I'd say if we can get our money back from him, yeah, I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah, I think this is one to watch. That to be honest with you, with Ryan Porteous, I think if this doesn't go through this window, and I actually think it might do, I think it's a move that will probably happen in the summer, whether it's the Hull or somewhere else. I think we'll see, and it might be the right time. He needs to he's coming into almost the prime, or maybe a bit past his prime in his career, and he needs to find a way of breaking back into the Scotland team, and potentially a more stable environment could be the place to do that. Last 2 players, then 2 goalkeepers. I think we'll go first off with Miles Roberts, Charlie. I think this one will probably depend on if we bring in a number 1, won't it?
Yeah, it was good meeting Miles. I thought his attitude was great when we met him. I thought he was quite realistic in what he said in terms of, look, he really enjoyed his time up in Scotland. I think if you saw the reaction to any of the social media posts, their fans absolutely loved him. That level was the second tier in Scotland. How does that translate to England? League 2, maybe? I don't know if that's being harsh, but it's hard to tell what level he is. But I would be really comfortable now, and I think Adam's kind of mentioned it, is give it to Bondi. Give it Bondi till Batman's fit with Miles as a backup. But if Miles is someone for the future, he's going to be wanting minutes as well. So I think that was the plan, wasn't it? And I think the rumour is maybe him to go back with is it Don Cowie? Is he the Ross County manager? That's where Jack Greaves is as well. So he was really great to me. He looked like he had good chemistry with Ryan, and he's come up through that academy as well. So I would like to see him as our goalkeeper one day, but it's hard to tell what level he's at. So him to go to Ross County, probably get him in, don't hate it as well.
Yeah, don't hate it with
It could be a
Miles
solid signing for them, but for us, I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it all depends on a number one coming in. And as Watford fan says here, I think Miles Roberts is the next Travers, should we start him next year. And so let's go on to the last player, Adam Mark Travers. Obviously at Bournemouth, I think he had a spell at Stoke last season or the year before that. He's starting in the Premier League, seems to be rotating quite a bit with Kepa Arrizabalaga. Kepa was obviously also wasn't able to play against Chelsea last night because he's only on loan. But yeah, thoughts on this signing if we were able to get it over the line?
Yeah, I think obviously the player I know most about of the three keepers, but definitely feels like the one who ticks the most boxes in terms of he's been played a lot of Championship football. I think he was really good at Stoke, and they were disappointed when Bournemouth called him back, if I remember rightly. So, and yeah, he played for Bournemouth at Chelsea last night and had a really good game. So if he was available on loan and it was possible financially and there weren't other clubs above us looking at him and all those things, yeah, I think he'd be one who's worth going for, probably just to tide us over to the summer until we sign a new number one, and then you could let Roberts out on loan. It probably depends on the quality of the keeper available, whether we make that move this month. But for him, I think it would be worth it. So I'd stick him up at a solid signing, probably.
Solid signing. Charlie, agree with that?
Yeah, totally agree. Of what I've seen of him, he looks a really good keeper, especially Championship. I think we put him forward in last January, maybe, or like one of our summer videos as a player we'd like Watford to sign. Yeah, I think he's also been linked with Middlesbrough, which is their goalkeeper Senny Dieng, who used to be at QPR.
Yeah, I think he's struggling a bit. I think they want a new keeper this month. So yeah, that does make sense.
Could that be a ripple effect of them signing him and Dieng coming back down south? I don't know. And on Travers, what else was I going to say? I was going to say, I wonder if Daniel Jefferson's given us a good reference.
Let's hope he goes with his Irish teammates instead, particularly Rocco Vata. Hopefully can give us a glowing reference. So that's the tier list there. We got one player in game changer. And obviously it would be an absolute disaster if we lost Georgie Shaffatazzi. The majority of players in don't hate it. But to be honest with you, in terms of getting fresh legs through the door and a fresh mindset, I think I'd take anyone. Just to wrap up then, we've got a couple of minutes left. Derby away at the weekend. Watford haven't gone to Pride Park since the COVID season or a year in the Championship where João Pedro scored an absolute banger on a Friday night. We wore yellow shorts that night in the yellow kit. And of course, I think one of Watford's best ever Easter weekends back in 2015. We drew 2-2 at Pride Park. I think Guardiola made an absolutely ridiculous assist for either Igalo or Vidra.
One of the best assists I've ever seen.
Yeah, absolute nuts assist. Make sure to look at the highlights from that. We drew 2-2 with Derby before going back to Vicarage Road and beating Middlesbrough 2-0, thanks to goals from Deeney and Igalo, and that put us on our way to getting promoted. Adam, thoughts going into this one, because Derby are having an okay season, but interestingly, their fans absolutely can't stand Paul Warne. They think the football's absolutely terrible and it's dull. They lost last night in the FA Cup on penalties to Leyton Orient, having played 120 minutes as well, which could play into Watford's hands. Yeah, how are you feeling going into this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you just said reinforces what I already thought, which is I think we'll see a very different approach in terms of tactics, selection, formation on Saturday. I mean, Cleverly's sort of been searching for this balance. He just kind of moves from between the two extremes, between the 4-3-3, let's go for it, and the 3-4-3, a little bit more conservative. I think we'll see Vata come into the team for a centre-back, and he might... The last time we actually won and played well was the West Brom game, where we played 4-3-3 and Morris played left-back. So I wonder if that's something he'd look at to kind of be a little bit more conservative with those fullbacks. But yeah, I expect us to try and take this game on a lot more and really go to win it. I mean, we haven't really touched on it, but partly because we know what the whispers are around Tom Cleverley at the moment, and a win would be really, really big for him, and a defeat could spell quite bad news. So I expect us to take the game to them and hopefully approach it a little bit differently to last night.
Yeah, no, obviously, Charlie, we don't want it to happen. We've made our feelings quite clear on the channel about Tom Cleverley. Don't want to dwell on it too much because it's just miserable talking about it. But if Watford don't pick up a result in this game, do you think that could spell the end of Tom Cleverley's era at Watford?
Sam, how many times have I told you? Don't ask me about this kind of stuff. I don't even want to think about it, to be honest. I think that you can hear by the fans' sentiment, and anyone that's at any Watford game knows how people feel about Tom Cleverley. I think if you listen to the excellent podcast from the Rookery End that they put out yesterday or this morning, getting opposition's fans about that potentially happening is really, really interesting. No, it would be a shambolic decision if it was going to happen. We don't know if those rumours are true. We haven't had a reliable source on that. So, yeah, let's hopefully the team can get another away when we're all going. I'm hoping that it'll be equal a few beers and a curry in Derby afterwards. So don't let me down, Watford. I need that away day curry 2025 edition.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, let's hope for a big 3 points. Looking forward to seeing you both at the game. Adam, thank you so much for coming on today. To wrap up, score prediction for the game at Pride Park.
I think we will win 3-1.
Love it. That would be absolutely huge.
And Rocco Batter will definitely score.
Need that in front of the away end. And Charlie, I think I know what you're going to say here.
Yeah, I think it'll be quite cagey game, quite tight from both teams, but probably a 3-3.
I'm just thinking of the Gary Neville meme, the banker, the no-brainer, every single week, Charlie.
What are we going to do if we get a 3-3? Something needs to happen. Let us know in the comments what happens if we do land a 3-3.
I'll be in the pond with a pair of trunks with Charlie's face on. Yeah, looking
forward
to seeing it.
Probably go 3-0 up and get pegged back 3-3 I saw the highlights. What was it against? On a legal stream that I was watching of the Fulham game, they showed the highlights of Tranmere. Was it Tranmere at Vicarage Road under Nigel Pearson?
Yeah.
God. Tom Daly scored a lovely goal that day, though, from memory.
That was Joao Pedro's debut, I think.
Oh, every cloud, I suppose.
But,
Adam, thank you so much for coming on today, mate. We'll leave your socials in the description as well, and hopefully hear you on from the Rookery End soon as well. So make sure to check them out as well. Charlie, absolute pleasure as always, mate. Looking forward to seeing you on the weekend as well. Hopefully have a couple of beers before the game. My dry January, I think, is going to end at Derby, to be honest with you. Difficult watching this team sober at the moment. But as well, when we're back at home, make sure to check out the Mad Squirrel, where you can enjoy some lovely pre-match pints as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to WD18. And we'll be back soon for another video where I'm sure we'll be talking about our, hopefully, a victory away at Derby. Thank you, everyone, and up the Hornets. You want.